Hi, everyone. Welcome to Recharging with Champions. I'm your host, Charlotte Harrell. And today I'm with Miss Tanya Bugbee, who is a coach, a friend, and just an amazing human being who has a true gift for diving in, digging into, and helping people find their core values. So, Tanya, what made you? I mean, it really is a gift to be able to work people through and help them look at themselves. When did you realize you had that gift?
Well, thank you. I've never really looked at it as a gift. I know that when my coach did the exercises with me, it was such amazing aha moments. I mean, it really was transformative to be able to really identify my values and then start making decisions, better decisions around them that I wanted to pay it forward. So practice mostly.
Just what you did. Okay. Well, that's awesome. Well, you have a knack for making people feel very comfortable when they're talking about that and really kind of getting that vulnerable side. But let's start from scratch. Let's pretend that somebody that is listening to this has no idea when we say core values. I know my first thought when I went to this is, well, my core values is my family and my relationship with my husband and my job, right? Those are my core values. So
Yeah.
can we start at the beginning? When you say find your core values, what do you mean?
Well, okay. So core values, we value many, many things. I think the average person, I don't know the exact stat, but it's really close, values 50 things. Like we can value learning, we can value money, we can value entertainment, family. The core values is your thumbprint. Like 5 or 6 top core values that you have had since, well, forever. Like if you really talk to somebody who's 5, 6, 7 years old, you can see who's competitive, who's an introvert. Knowing your core values is knowing your top 5 or 6, not your 48th.
Gotcha. So I had this list and I send this out after I do a presentation. It's like 150 core values. And I look at it, I'm
Right.
like 100 of those are my core values.
Yeah, no,
Maybe
there's a
not.
thumbprint in there. And that's where I want you to live in alignment with, right? Because
Right.
we're grumpy when we're upside down. And I think one of the best examples I give today because of COVID. So pre-COVID, this wasn't an example, but COVID really stomped on my on some of my very top core values. COVID stomped in it. So one of my top 5 core values is freedom and independence, fun, family and connection. And do you see how COVID just stomped all over them? And then I'm sitting in my home all alone going, why am I so upset? Why am I just so crunchy right now? And when I connected it to my values, I'm like, okay, I've got to figure this out.
So that's huge. What you just said there was sometimes when we're not feeling resonance and we're in that slump, that dump, we're not motivated. It's because we are not honoring or living in some of
Yeah,
those core values that are super important to us. So
absolutely.
that's number one. We need to know what they are so that
Right.
we can make sure we are at least honoring them or putting some piece of that into our life on a regular basis.
Right.
That is monumental when it comes to personal development of any sort. I don't care what
It's the
it is.
foundation, right? If I coach somebody who's just turned 60 and she's trying to figure out what she wants to do when she grows up, once she realized her core values and how in the past she was not in alignment with them and how going forward she wants to be, now deciding what she wants to do when she grows up is much easier. Yeah.
So let's walk through. I mentioned that I would originally have thought that my core values are some of the things that I love, but truly it's deeper than that. Is the things that make me love my family and the things that make me love my spouse, right? If my core value
Right.
is having fun, I know Tanya was just waiting for me to say that that was one of my core values when I did the experience, because I think I use the word seriously. I catch myself. I use that word all the time.
Me
All right. I
too.
like having fun with my family, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes. And you will hear with me, I use the word fair. That's not fair. And sometimes I feel like I'm a 5-year-old when I say that. However, I hear myself because one of my top core values is justice, fairness, honesty. That is one. And you'll hear me say, well, that's not fair
Right, right,
all the
right.
time.
That's
Yeah.
funny. That is so far not on my top 5 spectrum. I'm
Right?
like life's not fair, Tanya. Get over it.
I know.
I'm the driver. I'm like, okay, it's not fair. What are we gonna do now?
Right.
Creativity. That's great. Which is so cool because you don't have to line up. I know that people work with people that resonate with your core values, right? But I have learned as a leader that doesn't mean that I need people that are like me on my team. It doesn't mean that I need to only be around people that have my same core values. I need to honor my own core values, but there is some beauty in finding the differences in those core values and really building each other through those.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
know we're talking to a lot of agents and lenders and maybe title companies. This podcast is for these real estate professionals, and we lean into each other.
Yep.
So when it comes to relationships, can you give some tips on honoring each other's core values? Is there something that you coach that would be like, all right, well, this person's on your team and their core value is this. How would you coach people to honor that?
Okay, so I just did one. I just did one recently. So it's a husband and wife who are partners in real estate, and they struggle with where one has a core value of honoring her family, fun. I mean, she almost is a clone of you when it comes to fun, being extroverted, getting out and exploring. So her core value of exploring, learning, traveling is nowhere on her husband's radar at all. So when she wants to go on a cruise or I want to go on a hike to some mountain, he's like, "Oh, heck no." Right? And so they've really been struggling with it. So it's not so much business coaching because, as you know, not all coaching is around business, but it's like, okay, so we have a core value of this exploring, fun, learning, travel, where this is probably not even on his top 50, right? So they've learned as a couple to, she'll go with her sister, she'll go with a group of women and do it, go on a cruise with a group of women and have a women's retreat. And he is so cool with like, go. It's honoring each other's core values. And it is. And this is very similar to yours, your need for travel and your love for travel and how much fun you have. And that is her to a T and him to the exact opposite. So she is now honoring his other core values and knowing it's not one of his. And he's honoring hers and saying, go, have fun, see when you get back. And it's amazing how it's changed not only their relationship, but now how they're working.
I do think there is a true power in one, obviously knowing your core value. And hey, guys, don't worry. We're going to get to that in a second. She's going to lead us through a couple exercises. If you're like, I don't think I know exactly what my core values are, we'll do that. But there is a beauty in knowing what your core values are, helping the people that you are, your spouse, your family, your teammate, the partners that you work with, the business partners, helping them know what their core values are so that you can really build towards that. It just makes everybody better in business.
Yeah.
I think of my team, and I've got my team is very diverse, and I've got some that have extreme core values when it's like they want quiet time at home alone with their family. And like, that is not me, right? I'm like, come on, I got to plan this event for you and your family. And they're like, that you're not speaking to me right now.
Right,
so as
right.
a leader, as a partner, you really need to know that. But there's also a power in marketing with your core value. And I was thinking about this when I gave a presentation yesterday and I touched on your core value and gave actually your testimony of how you helped me get my core value work yesterday. And I thought, why is it that people resonate better, even if they don't share your core value, if you know it and you lead with it?
It's authentic.
I think that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it. And if your core value is something that is maybe not universally accepted, or they don't think it is. I'm thinking money driven, right? The universal thing is if you're money driven, you're stingy or whatever. But if you're authentic about even that, doesn't have to be what it is, right? Money can be that you're just good fiscally and you have good goal setting. So you find that core value and honor it, but then be present with it. I think there's something about the authentic piece of that that does draw me to the other person, even if I don't resonate directly with their core values.
Right. And if you don't resonate with someone's marketing and advertising because your core values are the exact opposite, you can obviously recognize it's authentic to them, but it's not a good match for you, which is good. It's beyond good. Right. I am very creative, out of the box. I swear a lot. And right. And my clients, are attracted to that. And if they need somebody who's more stuffed shirt, and very prim and proper, and then that's how my marketing would look. You're drawn to authenticity, or just no, that's authentically Tanya, and that's not good for me.
That's it. We actually had another episode where we were talking about how wonderful of a place it was in our business where we learned what resonates with us and what is the opposite. I don't think everybody has to be on the same frequency, right? The chords are made up of lots of different notes, but there is a harmony there, right? And when you find that person that has a different harmony and you try to push that together, we felt that. Like, there's a beautiful place in your business where you can say, I don't want to attract everyone. I want to attract the people that harmonize with my chord.
Right. That's right.
I might
right.
come from a musical background, possibly.
Yes. And I want to really, high five anybody who will say, any realtor with a client, lender with a realtor or a client. I'm a coach. Anybody that I'm coaching, if I hear or we have a discovery call or a synergy session, I'm the first one to say, you know what? I don't think we're a good match. Our values aren't in alignment. I'll be wasting your money, our time. No, let me recommend you to a different coach.
Yeah, that is huge. And it really does everybody a favor. The people that recognize it and that world out there, take time and learn your core values so that you can be in that position. Because if you're not aware, you don't understand what's going on. You really need to do a little soul searching. So let's start there. So Tanya, you're amazing at this exercise. Will you just give us some tips? If I was going to sit down, spend an hour and just do some deep searching to truly try to find what are my top 4 or 5, right? My thumbprint is what you call it. I love that.
Yeah.
What steps would you tell me to do?
Okay, the first step is, what do you really, this is really strong. What do you really, really, really hate? So if something happens and you can punch your fist through a wall, like with me, I hate being lied to. I hate injustice. I hate when I see something's not fair. I hate it. The exact opposite, right, is fairness and justice. That is a core value. It's and for you would not put you're like, that's life, Tanya, move on, right? So that hate isn't in there for you. But for me, it is like, I can just feel it in my entire body. I hate it. So that's one thing, and things will happen. So like in COVID, for example, one of my values is learning. It's not a core value. It's in there. Maybe number 10 is learning. But if COVID happened and said, Tanya, you can't learn anything new for 2 years, I wouldn't have been upside down. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll binge watch Ted Lasso again, right? Or whatever. It would not have sent me sideways.
Right. But yet, cooping you up and saying you can't go explore and you must live by these rules, these very strict set of rules, especially she sits in California. So they have some really strict rules.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Right. And so, yes, that sent me sideways. So one of the tips is like, what do you really hate? What sends you sideways? It might be something you dislike. I really don't like milk chocolate, right? But you'll eat it if it's there. That's not, we want to go somewhere where you really, really hate. Obviously the opposite. What do you really, really love? However, that's harder. That's harder to boil it down to the top 5 or 6. So I remember what you and I did, and this is doing it with a coach or somebody who can do this, is say, Charlotte, tell me a time when you did something that you were really, really proud of. Like, give me, and I remember you telling me your story. I think I remember the story. However, you're right early in the podcast, and I listen and I take notes as you're explaining the story. And I'm writing down the words you were using, the adjectives, and fun came up like 33 times. Right? And I'm circling and I'm going through. So after my notes, I go through and I start circling all the words, and I realize fun's the core value for you, because in this story, you used the word fun 33 times. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So an example for me is when I did this with my coach, I was explaining how I learned how to fly an airplane. And the words I used over and over and over and over and over again was fun, right? So freedom, independence, it was so fun. And because one of my core values is my drive and competitiveness. I'm very competitive. I was learning how to fly 40 years ago. I was 24 years old. And the flight instructors, the good old boys club in Maine, did not want this cute 24, 25-year-old to learn how to fly an airplane. I promise you, they did everything they could to sabotage my success, and I would not give up. I just fired him and hired a new flight instructor. I went through 4. The 4th one was amazing. And so, telling that story, those core values came up, fun, freedom, independence, not quitting, her drive, and her competitiveness. And it's true. right? So
Right.
you can go back and think of stories when you were little. You leak your core values way from a young age.
That's huge. And you said just go through into the story. Maybe you write the story down, journal it, tell the story, and look for those keywords. And something that I have done since then, because I've really tried to hone in, what are my top 3? What are my top 4? I've taken the hate thing. So I made my top 10.
Okay.
This is hard. It really is
It is
hard. I think
hard.
you and I had
It's
this
not a
conversation.
5-minute exercise.
Yeah, right. So I had my top 10. I'm like, I really think all of these. And then I went to the opposite of them. And I was like, okay, if I was in the room surrounded by somebody that did a lot of the opposite, which one of them would I try to run out of the room faster? And that really made an impact. So maybe you do your story, you
Sure.
write it down, you look for those keywords, look for the adjectives that you're using, the emotions you felt, right?
Yes.
What other than just the pride, because you probably didn't feel pride at that time. There was more of all the other drivers that were getting you there. So look at those words. And then if you've got too many, think of the opposite. Like you said, look at the things that you hate. I love that. I think that, I hate to say this, but hate is we recognize it fast. We like a lot of things. Thank goodness we like a lot of things, right? But probably the things that would just drive us really crazy. I used an analogy today. If you meet one of those people, you shake their hands, you have a 15-minute conversation, and you want to get you hightail, get the heck out of Dodge. There's probably something that they resonate. And it's not a bad thing. I always say this. It doesn't mean it's bad.
No.
It's just not you.
Correct. Right.
You.
Exactly. So going back to the flying example, when I was saying and sharing my story about learning how to fly an airplane, never once did I say, oh my gosh, I love learning about Bernoulli's principle of aerodynamics, right? I never said, so learning, right, as much as I like to learn, it isn't one of the top 5. Right. The learning never came up. It was the freedom, the independence, the fun, the challenge. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So if we take this and we do our deep dive, we learn our core values, and I wanted to really implement it in my marketing and how I do my business. Give us a couple of pointers. So let's just say Tanya, you're working with me. I'm brand new at this. I've just determined that my core values are fun, creativity, intelligence, and I'm going to put my 4th one is out there as an adventure. Like I need an adventure of some sort, right? Those are probably my top 4. So I come to you, you're my coach. Here's my top 4. How do I start honoring those in my business?
That's good. That's what I ask you. How are you going to start honoring those in your business? Right? You know me, I don't spoon feed. But that's right. That's the question. Charlotte, how are you going to start honoring, this particular core value? What's it going to look like for you in your business? And is that going to be, as you setting your goals going forward, is it going to honor your core value, or is it going to move you away from your core value? And
can I stop you for a second? Because that is something I don't think about very often, but you're right. What we do once a year, all these professionals, we all do our business planning and our goal setting for the year, right? What a time to pull up those core values and make sure that you're in alignment with them just for your goals. I mean,
yeah, and my clients do that. I'll give them a goal sheet and it'll say, are you honoring your core value? How are you honoring your values with this?
Draw a line.
Right. And if here's your 5 core values, and are you honoring that in your goals next year? Right. And it's just a phenomenal coaching moment, because somebody like me who really honors family, love, connection, and you know how that important that is to me, right? In my life. And I set goals and I did not put anything around family in my goals, right? That's a no bueno, right? Oops, and now as long as I've been on earth and coaching, I'm not going to forget. But somebody new setting goals and thinking just about business. Well, what about family? What about your need for travel? Where's your vacation next year? Right. And so that's all coaching right there.
It makes sense, because if we connect to those passions and those core values, one, it's going to make us more authentic, which I think is huge, but it honestly makes you a happier person, right? If you're honoring that, you're a lot less grumpy.
Happier, and your business is going to grow, right? It is like you're at home depressed, sad, grunchy, crumbly, right? No. When you have that positive mindset and you're honoring some family time and you took a vacation, you come back, you come back and pardon my language, payback's a bitch when you come back
Right.
when you're a
All
business
the
owner.
words. Right.
However, you're going to see that the growth is there. This is
That's it.
growth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. I love this. And like I said, Tanya, you have been a key component of me finding that and really nurturing it and taking it. I've always been driven, but driving towards the right core
Right.
was
It's
the
your North
change.
Star. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And when I aligned with that, it changed my business direction, my trajectory completely, and it aligned me better. I can't,
Yeah.
if you have not done this exercise already, I highly, highly recommend it. So, Tanya, tell everybody if they wanted to do one of these sessions with you and wanted to do some coaching with you, how would they get a hold of you?
Oh, I'm easy to find. I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, a little bit on Instagram, and it's easy. Tanya Bugbee Coaching and Consulting. One of my most favorite platforms is LinkedIn. I have a website, again, tanyabugbee.com. So put in my name, Tanya Bugbee Coach, and you'll find me.
That is
Yeah,
awesome.
smoke
Well,
signal me and let's do some values work.
right. That's it. Well, I will tell you, the universe out there finding these core values, it truly is life changing and honoring them on a regular basis. Real quick before we go, Tanya, how often should we pull up our core values and see if we're in alignment? What is your go to?
My go-to is quarterly, unless, so there's an unless or a but in there, you're not feeling well. You're feeling upset. You're feeling depressed. You're feeling angry. You're coming home and yelling at your kids, right? Or you and your husband or spouse or significant other just aren't meshing. Pull out each other's, and couples need to have each other's core values.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So
Thank you
maybe
so
quarterly is
much.
not enough.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If the resonance is off,
Yeah.
come into it and look at it, being aware that that's very well possible, but that's
Yeah.
the problem. That's awesome. Thank you again. I so appreciate you joining. I know I'm going to have you on again because you've been influential in my life. I truly appreciate you.
Can't wait.
Thanks, Coach Tanya, and everybody. We will see you next week on Recharging with Champions.
Bye. Thanks, Charlotte.